There is no button there anymore. It's down inside. There I was, minding my own business, just going through things in the menu, when, well, let's turn it on here. As you can see, I can push these buttons. They make a nice little click sound. That button makes a nice click sound. But when I hit page, kind of works, but it kind of sticks. It won't unstick. It doesn't even, oh, and that button, it's gone. I don't know how well you can see that. No button there anymore. So this happened to me about a year ago. On this side, the buttons pushed in and they wouldn't work anymore. So I did some research. I found a little video from Josh Bardwell that explained how to go inside and fix it. Yesterday, that happened again on this side. It was pretty much inevitable. Take that out. You might be able to leave that in, but I thought I'll just take it out just in case. So there's a number of screws here. We'll take out all these screws. I'll try to remember where they all go. Maybe I'll lay them down in a way that I can remember somehow. Put those two there. Some of them you have to unscrew pretty far before they'll be willing to come out. These are a Phillips head screwdriver, by the way, and a reasonably large one, or a normal size one, but you might have to get a screwdriver that's kind of skinny here to fit down in the hole. It's really handy to have a screwdriver that has an end that can rotate like that, so then you can keep pressure on the end as you're turning it. Keeps it from stripping the head. Couldn't get the last two out, I'll just leave them in there. Here we go. You want to make sure to carefully keep these switches attached to the front half because their wiring is connected to the front half, and keep the pots attached to the back half because their wiring is attached to the back half. So it opened up nicely. Now, there are 5 screws in here we need to take out. These are also Phillips screws, but they're a smaller screw. They still use the larger screwdriver that I have here. Now be careful to not accidentally static shock anything in here, you might ruin the radio. It's a good idea to ground yourself or touch something that can remove the static from you. That's all of those. I broke the buttons on this side. Yep, I can feel that they're pushed in. Now, I need to lift this up and just very carefully move it over to the side so that you can get to the actual buttons. It's a little tricky getting these to move over. You don't want to force it hard. But you can see when I push the buttons down there, it lifts up. It broke off right there where there's a plastic weld. This side's not broken, but it's pretty much guaranteed to break after a while. So I may just try and pop it off and glue it so that it will permanently stay. There we go. It's broken off. There's the buttons. And it's in here that it broke. I'm going to go get my special plastic super glue now. This says it works on all plastics. I've had it for a while. I keep it in the freezer just to keep it from going bad, but it has the glue and it has an activator. How it works is you put the activator on both sides that are gonna bond together, let it sit for about 60 seconds, put glue on one of the parts and stick it together and hold it for 30 seconds. It's a little bit more work than using normal super glue or other glue, but it can bond pretty much any plastic, which a lot of plastics won't bond. So I know some people have done this by just using regular super glue, but I don't know for sure how that acts in here, and I don't want to take this apart and re-glue it later. So I'm using this because I know it'll work. This is what I used on the other side that's under here, and I have not had a single problem since. That's what I'm going to do right now. First, I'm going to slide this back out of the way and get down to these little pegs and try my best to get the activator on these little pegs. It's really hard to get down in here. I can get it good enough. Here's this little peg. It's difficult, but I know it's on there somewhat. Now, I need to take the buttons and get this where it's going to be gluing together, which is this little hole here. Can't really get down in there with the activator. I can get it on spots where there will be glue. That should be good. Now I just have to set this down for 60 seconds. And while that's drying, put this away. I would recommend if you keep this in the freezer, don't hold on to it a lot, because as this heats up from coming out of the freezer, when you take the cap off, a whole bunch of glue will squirt out because it's warm. So try not to touch this part too much. It'll prevent more glue from squirting out than what's necessary. So it has been 60 seconds. I think I want to put the glue down on the side down there. I haven't used this in a while. Need to clean it up. Squeeze some glue down there on that peg. And some glue down there on that peg. Oh boy. I might have got a little extra down there. It'll be okay. Okay, that's it for the glue. Now, the hardest part, potentially, is getting this down very quickly and on those pegs. That was extremely easy. I can feel that the buttons are in place now. I just need to push that down. It says it needs 30 seconds. Yep, I'm just gonna let that sit there. Now that that's glued together, I can go ahead and reassemble everything. To start, I need to screw this circuit board back together, or screw it back into the case. And that is these screws here. Actually, while I'm in here, when I re-glued this together last time, I think I only glued one side of the button bar that broke, and I didn't glue the other side, and it feels like the other side's actually broken. Since I have it all opened up, yeah, that's broken. The bottom's holding where I glued it, but this top side is broken off. Time to fix that too. This side is going to be harder than the other side because I already glued it halfway down. It's going to be a lot harder to get the activator onto the parts. And this does not like to move very far. Getting under it a little bit. I just don't want to break the other side that I already glued. Now, gotta figure out how to get this glue down in there without it getting all over everything. This is gonna be really tricky because I cannot move the buttons very far away with one side already glued down. I'll try and pull it over just a little bit. I forgot to let the activator dry for 60 seconds. I guess we'll see how well this holds. Nothing I can do about it now. I'm sure it'll work well enough. We'll just let that sit there for a while, and then I'll reinstall everything, put this all back together. Okay, the glue's been sitting there for a few minutes. And now I'm going to reattach the circuit board. It'll set down in place once it's over all the screw holes. That feels good now. The buttons all feel like they're in the right place again. Let's start with this one. You don't have to tighten these all that tight. Just make them lightly snug. Circuit board's back. Now, when the plastic welds break, when you break the buttons loose, sometimes that can break off an extra little piece of plastic, and that might be rattling around in your case. I was just seeing if that little piece of plastic would fall out. It didn't fall out, so I think I'm good. Uh-oh. That got turned around. That's not good. If that's in backwards, I'll have to take it apart again to fix it. What I'll do is I'll put it in. It was most likely this direction. We'll put this back together carefully. Make sure everything lines up. And then I can turn it on. Go to the menu, page, So it shows all my switches. That shows both are down. That shows both are up. So I put it in correctly because that shows the switches being up in that position. I can turn it off, and now I can put all the main screws back in. This one fell out. I left these two in because I didn't have a way to reach down in there and grab them. Let's go ahead and get those back in. And what I would recommend doing is putting them all in until they start to get snug, and then go back around a second time through all of them and snug them up just a little more once they're all in. You definitely don't want to over tighten these either, because plastic can strip and then the screws don't do any good. They don't hold on to anything once you strip it. I want to be careful pushing down as I screw this screw because it was sitting on these buttons, pressing them, and I just fixed them. I don't want to break them again. So I want to be careful not to push the buttons as I'm screwing those in. Now I'm going to go back through. There we go. I felt it stop that time. That one's done. That one's done. That one's done. That one's done. Don't want to press on those buttons. That one's done. And that one's done. Now the buttons are sticking out the correct amount on both sides. And let's test it out. Press any key. Let me press that. That's where it originally broke, was when I'd press the enter button. And if your enter button doesn't work, you have really limited things you can do in the menu. So menu, page works, exit works. If I go to models, I can go up and down in there. I can select a model. There we go. It is completely working again. I will also link in the description Josh Bardwell's video, so you can go check that out too. He just shows you from pictures what to do, and so I thought maybe it'd be helpful to some people to actually see live video of what's going on when you take this apart. If that was helpful to you, please like and subscribe. I'm currently working on a lot more videos, and I'm happy for any support you're willing to give. Good luck fixing your radio, and have fun flying.